Welcome, friends. Welcome back. Hey, Lou.
How are we doing today?
Good. It's the new year, and
And
we
it's
have
a
a
new
new
chapter.
look over
Yeah,
here. New chapter, new look.
yeah.
I can promise you, friends, that this particular episode, verse 1 and verse 2, is going to answer some questions of yours about God. And that's a big statement for me to make to you.
Certainly
And
is. Yeah.
you wait till you get to the verse 2, which I'm coming to, and you'll see that it answers some of your questions. Could be wrong. I hope I'm not. But it was fascinating for me when I suddenly saw the light over there. So, verse 1, chapter 12, verse 1, begins with Arjuna. Remember, Arjuna is a warrior. He's in
Yeah.
the battle and he's talking to Krishna, who's a self realized soul, essentially like talking to Brahman. And Arjuna says, if I have to pray, Krishna, should a person worship God with a form or without a form? We talked in the last episode about how people worship in every religion with a form. They go to a temple or they go to a church and they look up and they see a statue of Mother Mary or Christ on a cross, or they see just the cross
Hmm.
alone, or they go to a temple, they see a statue of Ganesh or Lakshmi or whatever, and that's a form. And they can close their eyes and they can visualize Ganesh. And Ganesh is the god with the elephant head.
Right.
And they say, that's God to me. Now, as you start growing older, from a child, you know that there's no God with an elephant head in the sky that you're praying to. So then what does God look like? That's God is formless, has no form at all. No sound, no form, no nothing. It's just an energy. It's like electricity. Gives life though, very powerful. So how do you pray to formless God? So, and Krishna is saying, what should I begin with? Maybe I shouldn't begin with the form. Maybe I should go directly to a worship of a formless. He's asking Krishna, how should I do this?
Right.
And there's many examples that I've heard of and seen from different swamis, and I'm going to give you some of them. But the one example that I is my own came to me when I was teaching my 2-year-old granddaughters. Both my sons have little girls, 2 years old. They're born at around the same time. And I'm teaching them to count. And they know how to count from 1 to 100, which is impressive.
Right.
But I'm teaching them on their fingers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm saying how much is 1 plus 1. And I'm teaching them early. But I thought, suppose one of them says to me, Papi, instead of counting on my fingers, can I just count in my head? And I would say, you can try. It's
Hmm.
not going to work for you because you just think about it. You've got to learn first to count on your fingers before you can actually start to count on your head. Am I right?
Yes.
Similarly, it's like a person, Gautam Jain gives this example of a person saying, I saw an ad in the paper for your company that has an ad for either a clerk or a CEO. I can do both. What do you think? Should I apply for the clerk's job or the CEO's job? And the answer would be apply for the clerk's job, because if you were a real CEO, you wouldn't even ask a question like that.
Right. Yeah.
It's another example is school and university. Should I go to school or should I go to university? And obviously, if you're at a university level, going to school would be useless to you because you already know all this stuff. And if you're a school person, going to university would be ridiculous because you wouldn't understand anything that was going on. So those are some examples about form versus formless, but you'll see more as we go along. Both ways are there to reach God. To get to the point where you can meditate and think of God and get to a higher level, both reach God. But Krishna, in this instance, thinks that Arjuna is not capable of a formless worship. He's more capable of devotion and he needs a form. So he says in this chapter, he says, for you, you need a form. So just pray with a form. In Sanskrit, it's called Vyakta. Vyakta means with a form, or avyakta with an A in the front, which means without manifestation. Form or no form, manifestation, no more manifestation. Saguna or nirguna. Saguna means with form, or nirguna means without form, without any gunas. Gunas is the nature. And let's look at the example of sugar. Sugar's dharma, its essential nature, its quality, its dharma,
Mhm.
is sweetness. So you and I both know the sweetness of sugar.
Right.
That's its in form. Really, it's dharma. Dharma is, you know what that is. Dharma is the characteristic of something. That's what it's meant to be. That's what our dharma is, to get to the self. Sugar's dharma is sweetness. But if a child has always grown up looking at it as a sugar cube, it's like a half an inch by half an inch all around, then you say, this is sugar. And somebody gives it to you in a different crystalline form,
Right.
just a powder, it says, nah, this is not sugar. Somebody gives it to you in the form of molasses, you say, this is not sugar, but it is. So you could say the form is what you're attracted to and adhering to, but or you can just say, close your eyes and put it in your mouth, and when you taste the sweetness, you say, this is sugar. So sugar, it comes in various forms, but its essential nature is sweetness. And so you can worship the shape, or you can worship the sweetness. And so you can worship God with a form, or you can worship God with just the qualities and the nature of God. There are those people who can worship without a form. It's very difficult. Very difficult. It's not for the ordinary person, because
Mhm.
if you close your eyes and try to worship God without a form, your mind starts to wander all over the place. So it's difficult. You need a form. Why? Because in order to recognize something, we use our senses. Our body, which is the five senses, we use it to perceive. And God, energy, the life that forms us, is not perceptible by our senses. The Brahman actually gives you the senses, it gives you the ability to see.
Right.
So you can't see it. It's like taking a telescope and looking through it and saying, I want to see the telescope itself. Or looking at the eye, and the eye can see, and you say, I want to see my eye. You can't.
Right.
So it is that which enables you to perceive, in this Upanishads, that which enables you to see, not what you see. Mind also comes up with emotions. It is that which enables your mind to have the emotions, not what you are feeling.
Right.
You cannot conceive of God through your intellect, because God, Brahman, is actually what enables you to conceive, to think. Since you cannot, you therefore need a symbol. And in every religion, you have symbols that take one or two or more of your senses. So, for instance, you can take stone or wood, and you have the symbolism, because the stone you can see with your eyes. If you knock the stone, a certain sound comes, you can hear the sound, you can taste that it feels, tastes different than, say, wood tastes or food tastes.
Right.
So it takes multiple. Fire is another. You can actually see it, you can feel the heat, you
Mhm.
can hear the crackling of the fire, but and you can smell the smoke from it. But the most subtle of all is sound. So the only thing that you have that is perceiving sound is your ears. You can't see sound, you can't smell sound, you can't taste sound. So it's a very subtle kind of thing. So one, as you grow in your spirituality, you can use the form of sound to pray to God. So that Om, the sound of Om, is perceived as a symbol for God. Like a national flag, for instance, you can't think of the nation, you can't think of the United States or India, and but you can actually, wherever you think, if somebody says, I want you to think patriotism, you need to think about your country all the time. You can't, because your mind wanders all over the place. And so they put flags everywhere. So everywhere you see a flag, you say, whoa, I've got to think about my country. So the flag reminds you, and that's why you need the flag, it reminds you to think of your nation. But
Mhm.
let's say you're a soldier who's spent his whole life in the service of the nation. All you do is you think of the nation, you're willing to sacrifice your life. Every time, that's all you're thinking about is how better to serve your nation. You don't need any of these flags. The whole purpose of putting those flags up was to remind you to think of the nation. You're already way past that. You don't need a flag.
Right. Yes.
So for such a person, he doesn't need a form. He can do formless worship. Now comes verse 2, chapter 12. Those devotees who worship me, meaning Krishna, the self-realized, worship me, Brahman, with supreme shraddha, which is supreme bhakti, supreme devotion, those devotees are considered the best in yoga. Yoga means the union within the Atman, within you. So getting self-realized. Here Krishna says worshipping him with a form is best to gain union with the Lord, because he's telling Arjuna, because Arjuna he thinks is only capable of doing it at this level of him is with a form. So he says those devotees who worship me with supreme shraddha, those devotees are considered the best in yoga. Now the question then becomes, what is God? And listen to this carefully, because I this example really struck home with me, and I don't remember who gave it, but I do remember that I heard it and it clicked and it made me understand. I've said this 1,000 times in these episodes that my mother used to say, God is everywhere. God is, you can touch a stone, is God's there, tree. And I said, that doesn't make any sense. Where's the God in stone? Where's the God in a tree? Where's the God in an animal or insect? Doesn't make any sense to me. But this was when I was a child. Now, when you look at this example that I'm going to give you, that I heard from somebody else, but I don't remember who, struck a chord with me. Think of your whole body. Your whole body consists of trillions of cells.
Mm-hmm.
Each organ in your body is made up of billions of cells, right? You have your eyes. You can see with your eyes. Your eyes itself have a number of cells. The optic nerve that takes your signals that your eyes see back to the part of your brain that recognizes those symbols, all made up of cells. The brain itself is made up of cells. Everything is made of cells. Each one of those cells thinks, I'm very important for this body, right? The body itself relies on entire organs to function as a body. Now, if I lose one eye, can I still be a body? Yeah, sure. But in order to be a complete body, I have to have my eyes, my nose, my ears, everything. Now, I want to service my body, right? Somebody comes and says, my neck is hurting. Somebody says, I'll give you a neck massage. I'm servicing my body through the masseuse who's massaging my neck. I'm servicing my whole body, but he's only massaging my neck.
Mm-hmm.
How is that possible? My neck is not my body, but he is servicing my body. A person lies down on the beach and says, I get sunburned very easily. Can you put suntan lotion on my back? You're servicing the body by putting suntan lotion on the back, but you're only putting suntan lotion on the back.
Mm-hmm.
So every cell in the body thinks, I'm very important because I can see, I can hear, I can taste. I'm the kidney. Without me, this body would fall apart. I'm the heart. Without me, this body would fall apart.
Right.
But the body is consisting on all these different cells. It needs every cell to function properly. And together, all these cells and these organs make up the body. Right? Am I explaining this okay, Louis?
Yes, you
so
are.
far?
And it's a fascinating example, too, because the cells, each individual cell doesn't know it's part of a larger body.
That's right.
Yeah.
Each individual cell doesn't know it's a part of the larger body. And each cell doesn't know that its neighbor, the other cell, is also important to the body.
Mm-hmm.
So each cell depends on the whole body to be alive in order for it to be alive. And the body requires many of the cells in order for it to stay there. Now, take this analogy and shift it to Brahman. Brahman is all powerful, all over, exists. Now, here's the thing that my mother told me, that Brahman is everywhere, just like the one cell is telling another cell, really, this body is everywhere. You don't recognize it, but this body is consisting of all these cells. So to me, this beggar on the street is another cell next to me. He and I together are part of this whole body, this Brahman.
Mm-hmm.
If you cut the skin on your leg, it hurts the whole body. The whole body says, ow, this hurts me. If you cut your ear, it hurts your whole body. God and you are the same. If you get hurt, God feels, ow. So you, when you hurt somebody else, you're essentially hurting God. If
And
you hurt,
yourself.
and yourself, you're hurting yourself. You're right, because that person is another reflection of you. All of you. You hurt an animal, you're hurting yourself. You don't realize that this animal and you together are part of this larger Brahman. So serving anyone, whether you serve a poor man, a sick man, an elderly person. See, now it made sense to me
Yeah.
why people people used to say, go out if you want to serve God, go serve so the poor, the elderly. What is that saying, Lou? The elderly, the sick, the poor, the ailing. The help all of them, help
Yeah.
anybody that needs help, and you get to be serving God. That is your best way of serving God, not by going to a temple, not by going to a church, not by wearing saffron colored robes, but by helping your fellow beings, not just human beings but all living creatures. Just
Let me
like you
take this
serve.
analogy a little further, because each of these cells in the body, I love this analogy. Each of the cells in the body have a certain consciousness. They have a job, they have tasks, they're thinking, they're making decisions, they're, again, performing jobs. What if you tried to tell them, give them the concept that they were part of the larger body? How hard would it be for them to grasp that? It gives you an idea of our struggle with being part of Brahman.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And that is why this knowledge that, and this example made sense to
Yeah,
me. I said, wow, this really explains it. Why my mother used to say that God is everywhere. I said, how is a tree part of God? How is an insect part of God? This makes sense. This makes a lot of sense. And this also explained why in the previous introduction, we were talking about the fact that Krishna says, I am the mountains, I am the sea, I'm the ocean, I'm the river, I'm the stone, I'm everything. And that makes a lot of sense. So I hope, friends, that you take something out of this. I hope you got that example, and I hope it starts to show you that when in Hinduism you do namaste, you're basically saying, I bow to you, meaning I bow to you as God, but essentially I'm bowing to you as another human being. You see, Indians, whenever they meet, they don't shake hands, or they do nowadays, but their thing is to put your hands together, and that basically means, I'm saluting you, I'm bowing to you, showing respect to you, because you are part of me. You
yeah,
and
you're
I are the
recognizing
same.
we're the same. Yeah.
I'm bowed to the divinity within you. And that's what the dot on the forehead of a lot of women shows, that this dot basically says, don't look at me. Don't look at my face. Don't look at my body. Don't look at me. But focus the fact that, I am Brahman right here.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow,
A lot
that's
of,
a whole new context for that. That's great.
yeah. All right. So I hope you,
Something to sit
friends,
on until the next episode, right? Something to mull over.
yeah, and we've started something new. Georgina and Lou, myself, Mary, Katharina, we are all putting our efforts together. We started where I was told that it would be good if you can write to us with your questions, your comments, your thoughts. This is just my thoughts. I'm learning just like you're learning. And it would be great if you could participate and write. And I think Lou and Georgina and everybody are going to come up with ways in which you can communicate with us, both on Facebook and Instagram, and write to us. And that would be great for us to have this kind of conversation.
Yeah, we'll get an Instagram account up and running so people can follow along that way and comment that way as well. Facebook is a way you can do it now on the episodes, or direct message, of course, if you want to talk over these concepts a little, be great. If you do it on the episodes, that's good, because everybody can enjoy it and everybody can take part in a discussion.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thanks, Lou. See you next time.